Dystopia warning, obviously. Now I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that this is the most bizarre Tory MP based scandal that I've ever encountered in the 4 years that I have been knee deep in the trenches of this madness. This story with Mark Menzies involves a teenage Brazilian gentleman of the night. Menzies apparently getting held hostage and using party money to pay off his captors and getting a dog drunk. Yes, you heard me. Getting a dog drunk. Oh, and another incident at the proms in which he kicked off but claimed that it was over-enthusiastic flag waving. Mate, I told you they were monsters, didn't I? Okay, so this story involving Mark Menzies was broken last night by The Times by Billy Kenber. Mark Menzies is a Conservative MP for Fylde. He has a majority of 16,000 and he's also a government trade envoy for where? Brazil. He's under investigation for abusing his position. No shit. And misuse of campaign funds. Again, no shit. Now this story is hilarious. Well, it would be if this person wasn't an elected member of parliament. Now this all kicked off in December when allegedly at 3 a.m. he phoned an elderly local volunteer for the Conservative Party, 78 years old, right, at 3 a.m, saying that he needed £5,000 as a matter of life or death. Now, it's been hilariously pointed out that given this choice, she went with death. She was like, you're on your own, mate. I can't get to a bank. And she gave him the number of the campaign manager. Now, this figure later rose to £6,500, which he apparently had to pay to the people that were trapping him in a flat before they would release him. His office manager paid the money out of her personal account, which was then reimbursed from the campaign kitty, which is money that was given to him by donors. There was a bizarre, convoluted story in which he claimed, or it was claimed, that he'd been sick and the money was to cover cleaning costs. £5,000 for cleaning costs. I think that's bollocks, don't you? Anyway, a staffer ended up picking him up, right? And then when the staffer arrived, he asked for a couple of £100 more apparently, to pay some other men. And not just that, no. He'd also spent, apparently, £14,000 on private medical bills. But why would he need private medical care? You know, why would it need to be private? Because the NHS is doing so well under the Conservatives, isn't it? When the staffer that picked him up asked, right, about blackmail concerns, he said, it's fine, because he'll change his phone number. And then the following day, apparently on another call, he asked for another £35,000 for medical bills. What is he needing to spend £35,000 in medical bills on? I mean, I've heard that, you know, you can get a really pretty serious case of knob rot from hanging around with all these escorts, but £35,000? When told there wasn't any money, he apparently said, oh, we'll raise some more. Fuck me. Now, the Conservative Party have some pretty intense questions to answer about this, I think. Not least the fact that they were informed in January that this happened and they only took the whip away from him yesterday when the story broke. Now, the senior volunteer, who's apparently a lifelong Conservative, has got a pretty solid insight into the party that she's been supporting for the last however many years. Because she's saying that it's a cover-up. Yeah, because that's what they do, Doris. Now, this is the most recent scandal that broke last night. But this is far from Mark Menzies' first rodeo. You see, in 2014, this story broke in the Sunday Mirror regarding the Brazilian gentleman of the night who told the Mirror that Menzies had apparently paid him for his services. Asked him to buy drugs on his behalf and also taken drugs. See, at the time, Menzies was in a ministerial role, right? He denied it, resigned, and never held a ministerial role after. Do you want to know the best bit about this? Considering the Conservative output at the moment, Menzies' gentleman came to the UK illegally. He was refused entry 3 times, but managed to, you know, get back in. Stop the boats. Oh, but not those ones. You know, not the ones with the lads on it that are going to give us blowies, you know. So there's an immigration slant to this too. Wow. But it doesn't stop there. No. If only it did. I've not told you about the dog yet. 3 years later, he was interviewed by the police over allegations that he'd got an acquaintance's dog pissed. He claims the dog had just drunk some booze off the ground, right? Everyone else doesn't think that's the case. The poor thing had to be taken to the vets due to intoxication. Then he went to the proms, off his face, didn't have the allocated VIP tickets, apparently, and is alleged to have kicked chairs and poked people. Later, he didn't deny that he had got drunk, but claims that the poking must have occurred due to some over-enthusiastic flag waving. I mean, the entire thing about getting the dog drunk, I mean, it just reminds me of that Alan Partridge sketch.
You make pigs smoke. You feed beef burgers to swans. Do I?
I was going to say the maddest part of this story is the fact that he got investigated for getting a dog pissed and not, the escorts or the drugs. But there's too much that's mad about this story to pick on one thing, yeah. Now, the Tories sat on the escorts for a decade. He continued to work as an MP, which begs the question, how many others are doing this? Let me tell you, a lot. Why do you think I'm eternally exasperated and angry? Much of it I can't tell you about, because I'll get MI5'd, or sued, or pushed out of a window. Now, Mark Menzies is not available today to comment on any of the allegations that have been put to him, no. He's taken a personal day, so he can sit at home and feed his Jack Russell cocktails. Now, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but for a number of years there's been a spreadsheet circulating that's alleged, but never been confirmed, to have been Williamson's whips list. It's essentially a list of all the dirt that the whips have got on certain Tory MPs, which they essentially use as a form of internal blackmail to get the MPs to do what they want them to do. Check out the entry for William Ragg and Mark Menzies. Now, a lot of people refer to stuff like this as compromat, right? I can imagine the KGB have given up on trying to sting Tory MPs, yeah. I can imagine a spy, exasperated, on the phone to Putin. Just fucking incredulous, going, but Vlad, they're pushing themselves out the windows. Another thing is this will not be reported freely in the press. The Times have broken it, sure, but most people reading the Mail, the Express, etc. are not going to hear a peep about this, but what they will hear about is Angela Rayner's council house. An alleged oversight over, £1,500 in capital gains tax, which is likely if it did happen, an error, just a harmless error, a nothing burger. But there they are, banging on about her semi, when it's the Conservatives' illegitimate semis that should be making all of the headlines. Did the story about William Ragg, the giant baby, caught in a honey trap scandal who gave out the numbers of other Tory MPs who themselves sent pictures of their knobs to the blackmailer, has that made the Mail? Nah. I mean, he's the most unlikely person that you could ever imagine being involved in a naughty scandal, isn't he? He reminds me of Ewan McLove from Father Ted.
What is his problem? I have no willy.
But you know what? This scandal today with Mark Menzies is the third one in a day. Jonathan Nunn, Tory councillor, involved in a number of serious allegations. Akil Tripathi, the guy that gives Sunak a number of private jets, has had 14 million of his assets frozen in fraud investigations. Years ago, one scandal like this would have brought down the government, would have led to mass resignations. Nowadays, it is just commonplace. They're flooding the zone with scandals, whilst leaning on their mates in the press to investigate the Deputy Prime Minister in waiting. Because this is how it works. Tory Britain, I'm so proud. Are you?